Matching outfits, extravagant birthdays, many nicknames, few classic moves of a dog-obsessed parent. And at Ollie, they're obsessed with how obsessed you are with your pup, which is why they obsess over giving your dog the best. Ollie's fresh human-grade recipes are developed by real chefs and backed by vet nutritionists. The meals are perfectly proportioned and come with a pup-tainer and a scoop for easy storing and mess-free serving, delivering the best experience for you and your pup. And through the Ollie app, you can actually check in on your dog's health with real vets. By uploading a picture, their team can check your dog's weight, digestion, teeth, and coat. They'll then provide next steps on how to keep them thriving. And because they're just as obsessed as you are, there's zero judgment if you check in every day. You could say Ollie feeds the obsession. Go to ollie.com/truecrime and use the code TRUECRIME to get 60% off your welcome kit. Ollie, feed the obsession.
Hey, fans of freedom and open discussion, I'm heading over to Substack, and there's an ad-free audio and video version of The Adam Carolla Show that's going to be waiting there. In the near future, you'll even be able to watch ACS Live, unedited, as we record it, participate in the show via live chat. That'll be coming up very soon. You'll also get an ad-free version of the Adam Carolla and Dr. Drew Show. You'll also get an exclusive to my new podcast, Beat It Out, where I share unpolished ideas with my comedian buddies. The first series of episodes is going to be Jay Moore. You'll get all this and more for the low, low price of $9 a month, a pittance for all we're going to bring you. Subscribe now at adamcarolla.com/Substack, and I'll see all of you in our new speakeasy called Substack.
I'm Alice.
And I'm Brett.
And this is the Prosecutor's Legal Briefs. Welcome back to the Prosecutor's Legal Briefs. I'm your host, Alice, and I'm joined, as always, by my co-host, Brent.
It's true, Alice. You pronounce my name however you want to, because
it doesn't matter.
There's no correct way, is what we've learned.
What is phonetics when it comes to a name like Alec Murduck?
Oh, God.
Alec Murduck, y'all. Are you ready to go back to a time when Brittany wasn't even born yet?
Mm-hmm.
Brittany wasn't even born yet, and she is about to turn 3 years old. 3 years ago, we were here. This is actually the birth of us kind of recording on video, was giving you real-time live updates of a horrific trial of Alec Murdaugh, who knows, murdering his son and his wife, and we gave you a play-by-play. It was excruciating, to say the least. He was convicted based on very strong evidence. 3 years later, Alec is back in court, but maybe not for what you think.
I tell you what, Alice, it was like a family reunion. I felt like we were getting the gang back together, watching this argument in court in the Supreme Court of South Carolina, as a matter of fact. And everybody was there. Pootie was there, doing his thing. Creighton Waters. I was like, does nobody do appellate law in South Carolina? Everybody's just doing it themselves?
So guys, typically in almost any other jurisdiction, the trial lawyer is not the appellate lawyer for lots of reasons. It's really a different practice of law. It's not that it precludes you from it. And to be like a good appellate lawyer, it's good to do trial work. To be a good trial lawyer, it's good to do appellate work. But typically, when you get to these kinds of levels where you're doing trials all the time or doing Supreme Court arguments all the time, you basically specialize, because one is, of course, kind of very interactive, as we say, within the courtroom, and the other one is based on a record. They are different types of skills, but everyone came back for this awesome appellate argument.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I mean, Creighton Waters is just a talented guy. Like
he really is.
He was just as good arguing in front of the court as he was as a trial attorney. I mean, he's just very impressive.
You know, here's the other thing. We always say, you know, whenever there's like a motion for a new trial in cases, or we talk about cases that we've done before, one of the biggest headaches is Rewrapping your mind around the facts of a case, especially one this complex and this trial this long. Not Clayton Waters, man. He got up there. He had the facts at the back of his hand. Now, he did live it. He did literally live this case. But it's 3 years later, and I can't possibly recall everything. Of course, you do a lot of prep for these arguments. But there was a certain fire that came with this because, especially when we'll get into what the argument was about, when he spoke about the strength of the evidence, he brought his trial lawyer vigor to explain it because he lived it. He saw it, and it was really compelling.
Yeah, and as Alice said, so we're in the Supreme Court of South Carolina. I assume if you're listening to this podcast, we don't have to give you a big rundown on the Murdaugh trial. But one of the things that happened after the trial is it came out that Miss Becky Hill, courtroom deputy, was, how do we put this? Corrupt? Is that a good way to describe her? An idiot? It might be another way to describe her.
All of it.
So Miss Becky decided she was going to write a book about the Murdaugh trial. And after the trial was over, some jurors, I'm not going to say several jurors, one juror who was removed, who's famously known as Egg Lady, and a couple other jurors suggested that she had made some comments to them about how it was very obvious that Murdaugh was guilty, that he was going to testify and he was going to lie and they needed to watch him closely and his defense attorneys were going to try and confuse them, these sorts of things, which obviously is something you can't do. It's a pretty big violation. Miss Becky has since pled guilty to some charges sort of related to this, not so much for that, but for perjury. She had, and I guess violating some court orders, I guess she had leaked some photos or leaked some information. It's a little unclear. I forget exactly what she did related to the trial and then denied that under oath. So she got in trouble, had to plead guilty of that. But this issue about the jury tampering is the one that brings us to court. Now, this was a bifurcated argument. So basically, we had the jury tampering argument first, and then we had the strength of the evidence, 404B, all that. So what would have happened if Miss Becky had not done what she did? The argument we would have had was the second argument. So we can talk about both those. If you listen to this argument, I mean, it was interesting. Courts are just different all around the country, and it is fascinating to hear them. And this one, there were moments where I was like, are they playing to the audience and the cameras? Because some of the questions they asked were really basic questions that I was like, I don't know why we can talk about that, but there was a lot. There was a lot. And obviously this claim of jury tampering, there was a hearing about that. A former justice of the South Carolina Supreme Court chaired that hearing because the judge who had presided over the trial recused himself because there were some allegations about things he did. And that judge made some findings. And I'll just go ahead and tell you, when it comes to this question, the jury tampering question, so there's what should happen and there's what may happen. So if you listen to the argument, when a judge holds a hearing, an evidentiary hearing, one of the most important things they do is they make credibility findings, they make factual findings, and those findings are binding essentially on the appellate court. Basically, unless they're wholly without support, the appellate court is supposed to accept those factual findings because they weren't there. They didn't see the witnesses. They can't judge credibility. They're supposed to accept those findings and then apply the law accordingly. So it's usually the law, particularly the further up you get, the more law-focused everything is, right? So Judge Toll, who was the judge who handled this hearing, made a ton of factual findings that basically preclude relief for Murdaugh. Her factual findings are very strong, basically preclude relief if you accept them. What was interesting, though, about the justices, they're supposed to accept them, but the way they asked questions, particularly the Chief Justice, it was not evident to me that they are going to do that. It wasn't clear to me that they will not reevaluate credibility and evidence. I don't know how you felt about that.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I mean, they've done a few things in this case that are interesting. And of course, this is the biggest case in South Carolina, right? I mean, this is one of the biggest cases in the nation. But you're exactly right. The whole point of having this evidentiary hearing is you have different lanes that the trial level judge is supposed to make versus the appellate, because otherwise it would be de novo. Right? And
Right.
you're not supposed to do de novo. De novo is, fancy lawyer speak Latin for reviewing it in the first instance. And appellate judges are not supposed to do that, because then why even have an evidentiary hearing in the first place? Just have them all come into an appellate court. But that's not what happens in appellate court. So it is interesting because, as we all know, judges really can do whatever they want. And the way they were asking questions really went to what you would expect the judge who's overseeing Judge Toll, the evidentiary hearing, to be asking, going to the credibility, going to if this affected them or not.
So you basically had this whole question is, what did she say and who did she say it to? Right? The most damning statements, like Egg Lady in her affidavit, she didn't even testify. Egg Lady has the most damning statements. As Creighton Waters pointed out in his argument, she also was thrown off the jury for lying earlier, so not the most credible person. Then you have basically 11 jurors who said, I didn't hear any of this. No, didn't hear any of this. Then you had one juror who was kind of equivocal about what exactly she heard, when she heard it, if she heard anything. So you had Judge Toll basically say, look, I'm crediting the 11 who say they didn't really hear anything. And this juror, she was equivocal. I'm not really crediting her. So since I'm not crediting her, you haven't really produced any evidence that this had an impact on the jury. And here's all the evidence and all the reasons you lose. So therefore, no new trial. And, it was not evident to me that the justices are going to give that anyway. Because if they do, Murdaugh loses, right? I mean, basically, if they follow the law on credibility, he's pretty much done. If they don't, if they reweigh that, then it's all up in the air. And I'll say this. There were concerning signs for me from the justice, like the one justice who continually referred to the defendant by his first name. It's like, look, I know all y'all I know this is one big good old boys party in South Carolina, but is there any other situation in which you would refer to the defendant by their first name? Like if this were like a drug dealer, would you be like, Jim? Well, Jim says he didn't sell any drugs, but it's like, well, Alec this and Alec that.
And you guys, those of you who somehow have missed this case for the last 3 years, the whole point is Alec and his father and grandfather, they've run this town, right? They've been in political offices. They've been the prosecuting attorney of the town. They know everybody. Their family is entrenched within kind of the very fabric of this community. And so you would think they'd want these appearances of arm's length. But by referring to him repeatedly as Alec, really, Ellick.
Yeah,
Ellick. It was different every time they said it too.
Ellick says it sure was. It sure was.
It sure was, because I listened real close.
This, and I'm like, man. I mean,
is it Alec or Ellick?
I don't know. I just felt like that was weird to me. That did not send a strong signal. Maybe that's just how they are in South Carolina. Maybe they do refer to the drug dealers by their first names. I don't know.
They don't, because they refer to each of the attorneys as Mr. Waters and Mr.
That's true.
There's not that level of familiarity across. And I mean, for example, imagine if the attorneys got up and called the justices by their name. Hey, Billy.
It's like
as
Bill.
Opposed to Justice, so and so.
Yeah. So troubling that. There were a couple other troubling things. Like at one point, one justice is pressing Creighton. See, I'm doing it now too. Creighton.
But we're friends.
Yeah, we're all friends here.
I fangirled so hard when I met Creighton
together.
Waters.
So was pressing him on, he had defined what is relevant in his brief. And the definition for relevant evidence is any fact that tends to prove or disprove a contested matter, right? And he italicized any, because that is literally the day one textbook definition of relevance. And the justice
Very
was
low
like,
bar.
I'm really concerned about this. You got any, and you got it italicized. Now, are you saying that anything is relevant? And it's like, yeah. How did you get to be a justice of the Supreme Court? And you're asking that question. And this was one of those where I was like, is he playing for the crowd? Like he knows?
I've got to think some of it's for the crowd, right? Which is not good, because the whole reason we're here is Miss Becky Hill is accused of doing what she did for fame and fortune, right? I mean, so this is not a good look for South Carolina justice system.
Yeah.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Because Progressive offers discounts for paying in full, owning a home, and more. Plus, you can count on their great customer service to help you when you need it. So your dollar goes a long way.
Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save on car insurance. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary. Not available in all states or situations. So he did that. And I'll say this. I mean, Creighton Waters didn't just say, well, duh, Judge. Like, he explained to him why he italicized the word any, because that's just the way it is. This was during the second portion, because interesting thing I learned about South Carolina law, by the way, which just once again goes to show you that different states. So everywhere else in the country, I'm pretty sure, Rule 404B is the rule of inclusion. We always talk about this. It's rule of inclusion. But apparently in South Carolina, it's a rule of exclusion. I was like, how did y'all mess that up? How did you get there? So that was different, and they talked about that some. You know, they talked about the financial stuff. It just really felt like we did that whole thing. You know, we talked about the financial stuff and the 404B, and I do think one thing they said that's probably true, and I think we even said this during the coverage, the trial judge could have and probably should have put a few restrictions on the financial stuff. I mean, it went on forever. It was kind of overkill, and I do think if they order a new trial, they will probably strongly caution the next judge to put some. Now, it'll still come in. It just may not be 5 days of testimony or whatever.
Was it the defense who was like, nobody wants to do this again?
Yes! Pootie said that. And I was like,
Pootie said that. I burst out laughing.
What?
I had to burst out laughing because I was like, that's what you're asking for.
Yeah. He's like, trust me, Your Honors. Nobody wants to do this again. Least of all
which
us.
Which is true,
and I'm like,
but that is not your argument.
I'm like, are you lying? Are you lying to the judge? Pootie? Come on. Of course you want to do this again.
Of course you want to do this. This is why you're before the court.
But see, that is so defense attorney, right?
It is.
It's not that we want to try this again. It's that the Constitution. And even starts off, the Constitution is so precious. You know, he does this whole constitutional thing. I was sworn 50 years ago. I stood in this
courtroom. I sat back there and I raised my hand. We're not exaggerating. This is literally what he said. And I swore an oath to the Constitution as I was sworn in. I was like, you were sworn in 50 years ago?
Yeah.
Maybe go retire.
To uphold the Constitution. And I've never felt more like I'm upholding the Constitution than I am today. It's like,
it was theatrical. I will say this. Usually, Supreme Court or appellate arguments are not this fun. This one was a fun one. But kind of like the trial, though, I do think that both the justices and the attorneys were playing with the cameras. They saw what this was 3 years ago. And I do hope that whatever theatrics were at play, it was just theatrics, and they're actually going to look at the record. And the Becky Hill thing, it's not that she didn't do wrong. It's that there's not enough there to show that it affected the verdict, because we have to have prejudice here. And the strength of the evidence, for those of you who lived the Murdaugh trial with us, and this is what Waters walked through, is immensely strong here, that a new trial should not be granted. So I would like to hope that the theatrics were just for theatrics alone.
And Creighton Waters, he did such a good job walking through the evidence. He really did. I mean, that was his streak.
What did he start with? I mean, we talked felt like hundreds of hours about the evidence. He actually boiled it down to 4 points. And I thought it was brilliant the way he did it. He really did. I mean, if you listen to his 4 points, and he says it in about 4 minutes. It's not like he says 4 points like a lot of lawyers do and then talk for 4 hours. If you listen to it is an open and shut case the way he presents it. And he was able to condense weeks and weeks of testimony into the most important parts, which were incontrovertible. He wades through all of the noise and cuts to what's important. And I mean, that was like an episode of one of ours, So-and-so is guilty. It was beautiful the way he did it. It really was,
yeah. And look, so many of y'all out there get this wrong. So let's just walk through this, because this is really important. Like, there are way too many people out in the world, sort of lay people, who are under the misimpression that you're entitled to a perfect trial. And if you don't get a perfect trial, you get a new trial. And if anything bad happens, you get a new trial. And that's just the way it is. And if Becky Hill said anything to the jury, then by God, let justice be done, though the heavens may fall. We have to have a new trial. And that's just not at all how it is. And in fact, Pootie, during his argument, conceded this. Like, there was this moment where the justices were talking about structural error. So the only error that does not require prejudice is structural error. And there are very few structural errors. So, like, for instance, a Batson or JAP problem, so where you strike people from a jury because of their race or gender, is a structural error. So even if the evidence is there, the guy had a Perry Mason moment where he admitted it on the stand that he did it, and then produced a cell phone video of him doing it, and he confessed the whole thing, and it just all was like slam dunk, and the jury is like, we don't even need to deliberate guilty, right? It doesn't matter. If there's a structural error, you have to do it over again. But because the justice system is not typically like that, it is not typically, if there's a mistake, you have to do it over again. Most errors require a showing of prejudice. And there was like, and we talked about this if you listen to some of our previous episodes on this, where the real argument is prejudice presumed such that the state then has to overcome it, or does the defendant have to show prejudice? And there was some argument about the law on that because there's some real lack of clarity. Justice Toll, in her opinion, said, doesn't matter. If the state has to overcome the presumption of prejudice, they've done it. And to the extent the defense has to show prejudice, they can't do it, right? So her position was, I'm not even really sure at this point what the law is because it's kind of messed up. But either way, the state wins. So,
which is a good opinion, by the way.
Yeah.
That's the way you write opinions, and this is the way you write briefs as well.
Right. So, look, I mean, the sort of posture of this case going into the Supreme Court was great for the state. They had the factual findings on their side. They had the judge who had, regardless of the standard, had sided with them. And it's just really a question of what do the justices want to do? Now, they took the opportunity to hammer Miss Becky, which I expected, and I think is a good thing. And I think their opinion will hammer her again.
They rightfully should, because I would say, we said this back in the day, what Becky did, may have done, even the appearance of any of this, is a desperate blow to the entire judiciary system of South Carolina, and really broader than that. So they should be, because this can undermine the entire justice system in their state. This is not what people are meant to go. The justice is supposed to be blind. It should not be self-serving in this way. And this is kind of a breach of trust in the most kind of horrific way for public service. So I think they're right to do that.
Joe mentioned she should have gone to jail, and I think she should have. I mean, and you can just see it if you just look at this. If they decide to retry this, what an absolute waste of time, taxpayer dollars, emotional energy, all the people who have to testify again, the family who have to sit through this whole thing again. I mean, even Pootie doesn't want to do it again. Sure. It's just a complete, and it's all because of her, right? I mean, it is all because of her. This is not a case that's going to be reversed because a judge made a mistake, an honest mistake even. Got to make calls on the fly, and he made the wrong one, and that's just the way it is, and due process requires us to retry it. It's not even that. It is going to be, if they have to do it again, because of her very selfish, short-sighted actions. I mean, I will give you my prediction on this. I don't think they're going to retry the case. I think they're probably going to write an opinion really hammering her and how awful she is, but then saying that there's not enough evidence of actual jury tampering, number one. And number two, that to the extent there is, the prosecution's case was so overwhelming that it's harmless beyond a reasonable doubt, is usually the standard they would use, and that's what they'll go with. But I don't think that's a guarantee. I mean, I think you can never tell from arguments, by the way. I mean, everybody listens to an argument and they're like, oh, they were really hard on Creighton Waters. That must mean they're going to reverse. No, that's not the way it works. But, I mean, I do think there's a possibility that they could reverse the conviction. I would not bet on it.
I really would be surprised if they did.
I think it's like 80-20.
I think partly the way the argument went is because they're not going to.
I kind of felt the same way.
You know what I mean? We see this sometimes in arguments where it's like you want to make a point of it. You want to put everyone through their paces. You want to kind of make the prosecution sweat a little bit. And the courts, anyone who's like a Becky Hill out there sweat a little bit because how devastating would this be for everyone involved? Really, Pootie wasn't wrong. Nobody wants, other than the defense, nobody wants to see this do it again. And so in some ways, making everyone sweat is like a preemptive measure to ensure this never, ever happens again. You can use your oral argument for whatever you want. Clarence Thomas has said this, that oral arguments are just performative and they may have come in with their minds made. And it would be kind of tough to completely go against what Judge Toll had found after a very well done hearing and a very thorough opinion that she wrote. So I think this truly was performative to make a point. It's kind of like if you're like disciplining your kids and you're like, make this whole show and they think they're going to have vacation canceled, but like you already paid for the Disney ticket, so you're really not going to cancel them. And you're not going to cancel it, but you make them sweat so that this won't happen again.
So Joe in the chat, and you guys ask questions all you want because this is going to be a relatively short one. I mean, it's fun to listen to this argument, but the whole bit about the one justice really wanted to talk about the ballistics expert.
Which was not
his point
really
was
relevant here.
So academic. I was like, dude, really? Like,
it was kind of like that everyone wanted a piece of the case, and so they just wanted to talk about it as if this were like TMZ or like this was not an appellate argument. It was more, we've all been following this case, we just want to talk about it.
And the trial judge did such a great job. I mean, this is the other thing. Once again, the thing that was somewhat concerning for those of you who live in South Carolina, because I worry about you and your justice system. I just wanted to be like, look, justices, if y'all want to be trial judges, y'all go be trial judges, right? But the questions you're asking are so trial judge. Like, you're not asking the kind of questions that Supreme Court justices should be asking. Like, the weeds that you're in right now are not the weeds you should be in. Why are you down there talking about some of this, like, ticky-tack evidentiary stuff that the defense didn't even object to? That's not even properly preserved. And yet you're talking about this stuff like it matters. It was, I don't know. So that was somewhat concerning. Joe has a couple questions. Number one, why is he appealing this? And number two, are they going to retry him again? I think he's appealing it because he wants to go to federal prison. Federal prison's way better than state prison. I mean, unless South Carolina is very out of step with the rest of the country, spending the rest of your life in a minimum security federal prison, which is where you would be if you did not have a murder, because the way they do it, basically, they look at the crime you've committed, but then they also look at any sort of ancillary crimes. If you have a conviction for double murder, you're probably not going to go to a minimum security prison. If he gets that kicked out, though, even if he spends the rest of his life in federal prison, he can end up in a minimum security prison. The federal system has no parole, but it does have compassionate release, which is fairly liberal, and you never know. I mean, he might get out of it. And the way it works is place of conviction. First conviction is where you begin to serve your time. So if you're convicted in the state court first and then federal court, you have to serve your state sentence before you start your federal sentence. Or they run concurrently. But either way, like let's say you get 5 years in the state and 10 years in the feds. You serve the first 5 years of both sentences in state prison, then you get moved to the federal prison for the last 5 years, right? That's how it would work. So I think part of it is he wants to go to federal prison, number one. Number two, I think he'd rather not be a convicted murderer
on the books, right?
Because like so much of this was about that, right? Like his pride and his ego is so massive.
I mean, that was the motive presented by the prosecution. Was that he couldn't be the one who was getting sued and out of money.
Yeah. So, I think if he gets out from underneath this.
By the way, it won't change how he's treated in prison, because even if it's for some reason that's overturned, he's still his own child's killer.
Now, will they retry the case?
I think they would.
So?
I think Clayton Waters would.
I think Clayton Waters wants to. I mean, the problem is...
I think so, because it is such an affront. It's so high profile to just let him walk for such a heinous crime. It would be difficult to do. And it is relatively close in time with his mastery of the facts, as we saw in the oral argument. Not saying it wouldn't be hard to do it again, but he does have such mastery of the facts still. And if he distilled it down to those 4 facts, and it could probably be a more streamlined trial.
I mean, ultimately,
although
it was
great
up to him
in the first instance.
I mean, someone above him is going to make the decision.
True.
about whether or not to try it again. It's a double murder. I mean, even though the guy's going to be in prison for forever, it's still a double murder of
It's
your
justice
wife and
for the
child.
victims. Otherwise, there is no.
I would try it again.
I would try it again. I mean, not just because it's high profile, but this is a man who had everything and shot his son and wife for some money when he had all the money in the world and he blew it. So
I don't know how you find a jury at this point.
this go to North Carolina, go
Yeah,
to a
pretty
different
much.
state. I really do think you have to like go out of the state.
Is there a Carolina in England? Maybe they could go try it there.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. No.
They'd have to take a really long trip to Moselle.
Yeah. I was in South Carolina recently and
It didn't Moselle sell too? That would be interesting.
it's sold twice.
It's sold, so they have to like.
And remember they
That'd be
had the
interesting.
auction where they were auctioning off all the stuff. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyways, I mean,
This is fun.
look, I don't think there's a whole lot to say about this. It was
Even though it was a long argument.
it was a long argument.
But I think it was again for the theatrics.
I do too.
And not necessarily, and I don't say that with a negative tone. Like I do think when something is so high profile and broadcasted, this is a lot of people's only interaction with the justice system. And so when I say theatrics, I'm not necessarily demeaning what it is. I think there are important points to be made here about not abusing your position, for example, and what facts look like and what prejudice looks like. And not every tiny technical misstep means a new trial. So I actually think these things are great that people are tuning in and watching this. And it's available on YouTube. You can go watch it for yourself as well. So don't mistake what I'm saying with respect to theatrics as necessarily being negative in this instance.
Yeah. No, and you should watch it. I mean, I'll say this. We got judges who listen to this podcast, and far be it from me to give judges advice, but don't call the defendant by his first name. I just, every time he did that, I was like, why do you keep doing
Or
that?
at least if you do it, tell us how we're supposed to pronounce it.
Yeah, I know.
I still don't know.
Be consistent.
3 years later, I still don't know. I heard Alec, Ellick.
There were some real Murdaughs on this one. I mean,
Only one I didn't hear was Alex.
that's true.
The way it's spelled is the only way I didn't hear. There were some Murdaughs.
Murdoch. Yeah.
Murdaugh. Where's the CK? Where's the in the spelling? Anyways, for those of you who may just be joining us now, you may not know that we covered this trial in real time, in such depth. It was a fun time. It really was. I had a lot of fun. It was exhausting though.
I think
because
back on that as like a really long series, but in the grand scheme of things, it's
wasn't.
not even that long.
was it like 3 weeks?
The
wasn't
trial
in-
lasted for 4 weeks.
I know, but the way we covered it, but
I think we had
yeah, it was like
8
4
episodes, maybe? Is it 8?
Yeah. We recorded all the time. It was difficult because we were both working all day when trial was happening. So we had to listen to trial very fast and then record at night. And then I had to have a baby.
And you had a baby, yeah.
Had a
There's at
baby.
least 9 parts.
Yeah.
Were there 10?
Well, all to say is you can go listen to it if for some reason you missed all of this. It was a lot of fun though. We all lived through a lot together. And those of you who've lived through it can get the shirt that says I lived through the Murdaugh series, Murdoch series.
10 episodes.
10 episodes. Well, okay, so it's getting up there with John Benet Ramsey.
Murdaugh.
We should answer some questions though, because this was one of the shorter episodes, but I think that goes to show how there's really actually not much there for the argument.
I mean, it was one of those things where it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just, this happens in an argument too, where the judges are just being completely disingenuous. You know, like there was one justice who kept saying that Creighton Waters was saying he only needed 11. No, that's not what he's saying, and that wasn't what Justice Toll said. What she said was the 11 were credible, and the other one wasn't, so she was trusting the 11 over the one. Not that the 11 weren't affected and the one was. But that justice just kept saying that. And I'm like, you know he's not saying that. And yet you keep saying it. Like, I don't know. Anyways. Okay, let's see. Let's answer some questions. This was supposed to be about the average length of...
This was what we intended, a half-hour short legal brief.
I know. And yet here we are. Okay, let's see. We answered several questions today since we just, we got some limited. I mean, we do have to record ads after this, but anyways. Okay, Catherine wants to know, how can I grow my vocabulary? I know my vocabulary is different. in my realm of education and all the acronyms, and so is yours. I just wish I had more depth in my everyday language.
Reading.
That's what I was going to say.
Reading is, and I tell this to my kids too, and this is also why I believe very strongly in not making fun of people who mispronounce words, because it means they read it and they're not just picking it up from listening to it. And if you read it because you read it in context, you read it like in fiction, nonfiction, whatever, but that is the best way. And you have to read like good stuff. Like, don't read Dog Man. I hate Dog Man series. I'm not talking about children's novels, but like if you find really good writers like Brett, your vocabulary will naturally grow because you will be learning the words in context of description rather than like a standalone flashcard word.
I don't think I know what Dog Man is.
Oh, you're not there yet. It's like a series for kids. And it's inane and it's stupid. Like, it teaches them nothing. I think it makes kids dumber. I'm sorry if you guys like Dog Man. My kids love it, so I throw the books away. And I never throw books away, but I throw those
Alice,
away.
we never say anything controversial, and here you are going after Dog Man. People probably love Dog Man.
They do. It's made so much money, but like it talks about poop and like all the things you try to keep your boys from talking about at home, and it just like serves it up on a platter, and it's impossible to discipline them or tell them why it's wrong when their favorite book is like spouting all these things that I'm trying very hard to keep out of my house. So that's why I don't like Dog Man.
I mean, dogs, dogs poop.
No, it's weird.
Is he is he?
No, he's a policeman with a dog head, but it got sewn together. It's like a Frankenstein thing.
Oh, wow.
I don't know. Anyways, I would say read, and don't read like Twitter. Don't read short things. You need to read long things. Like,
I'm really disturbed by this dog thing.
I agree with you. There was a movie. I did not know that. My children don't know that.
Got sewed on?
Am I right about this, Joe? You've read this. Like, one of the first books is like, he dies. He's like a policeman who dies, and the only way to save him is to like attach a dog's head on him.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay. Don't read Dog Man, apparently. Okay. Yes, I agree with Alice. Reading is the way to go.
And long-form articles, too.
Yeah. Get a subscription to The New Yorker.
Yeah, I think we've gotten away from reading like long-form journalism as well.
And good books,
beautiful.
classic books. There's nothing wrong. I'm not a snob when it comes to reading. There's nothing wrong with like...
As long as you read, I really think it's a muscle that you exercise.
Yeah. But you should work in some like more complex, more complicated things. If you come upon a word you don't know, there's a couple ways. Some people say if you come upon a word you don't know, just keep reading, and the second time you'll know what it means because the context will explain it to you. That's true. I've known people who had dictionaries, and if they were reading, they found a word they didn't know, they look it up, and then all of a sudden they know what it means. Lots of different ways to do it, but I do think reading is the key. Reading is the key, and then try and, not in a pretentious way, but start working those words into your vocabulary, and they'll just become, it's like anything else, If you say dude all the time, you'll start saying dude when you don't even realize it, right? So that's one way to do it. All right. That's a great question. Thank you for asking that. All right. We'll do a speed section of weird questions we've got.
Okay. I love questions.
And some of these are a little political, so you're just going to have to deal with it. This person wants to know, can Trump cancel the elections?
No.
No.
No. He can't.
There you go. We're done with that. And just think about that for a second, like what that would look like. Well, let's say tomorrow he issued an executive order, said, I'm canceling the 2026 elections. I don't think most states would say, sure, we don't care about electing a new governor or whatever, or senators or anything else. Fine. Yeah. No. Okay, so there's that. This person wants to know.
See, we promised you, if you ask the questions, we'll answer them.
If you leave a 5-star review.
If you leave a 5-star review, but that may have just given us a 1-star review.
I think some people are trying to get us in trouble. So this person wants to know who killed Jesus. Which I guess is like, I don't know, like a Twitter thing. Like people argue about this on Twitter all the time.
We did.
Exactly. The answer is very straightforward. Like if you know anything about all these people who argue about this, I'm always like, you idiots.
We all did.
We all did.
It is the fallen man. We all did.
That's the whole point of the religion. Like, did you miss that somehow? Like, if you're saying someone else
did it,
you're
for
part
like
of the
a person
problem.
to go after them, or are they like, where the domino fell. Is it like Judas of Iscariot
So the
or
people
something?
on Twitter, it's always
I didn't know
like-
this was a thing.
It's always sort of the anti-Semitic. It was the Jews, and then the other people are like, no, it was the Romans, right?
no.
And it's
Oh,
like,
gosh, I
y'all
did not see that, where
completely
that was
missed
going.
the point.
It wasn't the Jews. It was all of us.
All of us.
All of us.
That's the whole point.
Garden of Eden, we were kicked out. All of us are sinners. And he was like, dang it, gotta come and die for your sins, y'all.
And I just feel like, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine that anyone who's actually a Christian would be arguing about this. You know?
That's just a joke,
But-
right? I did not know that
No,
Reddit
it
world
is
existed.
not a
Okay,
joke.
next controversial question. We're
It's
on a
like
roll
a-
here. Wow.
And I see it all the time, and I'm just always like irritated by
Oh,
it.
wow. Okay, we don't hang out on
We've
the same
now weighed
sides
in
of
on
the-
that question.
I didn't know it was controversial.
This person wants to know. I'm just knocking out the controversial ones.
Yeah, can't wait. Can't wait for the next one. I'm fired up now.
See.
When I step off a plane and drive from Mississippi, all I want to do is answer controversial questions.
We've answered this question before, but I'll go ahead and ask it. What is one law you strongly disagree with? Everybody knows mine, so I'm just...
Say it for those who don't know, Brett.
I think, once again, if you escape from prison, you should not be punished for the escape. I'm fine with punishing you for any ancillary crimes you commit. If you damage the prison while you're breaking out, you can be charged with that. If you like murder someone while you're on the run, you can be charged with that. But the actual quote unquote crime of trying to escape from prison, that is,
I totally disagree.
and
Okay.
you disagree. And that's
I disagree
fine.
with that. Yeah,
That's
I
fine.
know. I just wanted to make clear my position. Okay, so I'll say something controversial. I don't think it should be a crime to go over the speed limit. I don't
Wow,
believe in
okay.
speed limits.
That's
Now,
interesting.
But
Mine is way less dangerous. Like, you act like mine is crazy.
I still think there should be recklessness, but the actual crime of like being able to be pulled over and given citations or charged criminally if you are X number of miles
So you just
over
think we
whatever
shouldn't have a speed limit?
number is. Right, but I still think you can have speed limits, but it shouldn't be a crime for you to go 71 and a 70. That I have a problem with. Now, so 70 can like help with the flow of traffic so everyone knows, okay, here's where we go fast. But you can go 80 if you want. You can go 60. You kind of have to be a judge of what your risk tolerance is. And look, if you did something criminal, like there's still involuntary manslaughter. So if you're going 90 versus 70, like there's still, you knew that the flow of traffic here was 70. But the actual like citations, because we know this, they like sit there and like look for people to bust for like 2 over. I think that's a racket.
Huh. Okay. Well,
So I'm not against the idea of having speed limits. It's the speed limit triggering the citations and
I
potential
see.
criminal conduct that is not tied to harming someone.
so
that I have a
you
problem with.
think, okay. So if you go over the speed limit,
that
is it
shouldn't be
and then you get in a wreck?
that in and of itself, without paired with
Okay.
hitting someone or endangering. So like it has
So
to
you
be paired
think
with something
reckless
else.
driving should be? Is there any point where driving is like if you're going
It could be.
120 in a 25?
Yes, I would say that's
Okay.
reckless, but the actual
And you can be
act of,
stopped for that.
like the technicality of going 35 and a 30.
Okay.
I don't think that should be an offense that
But if
you
you're
are
going
able
120
to be fined for.
in a 30. Can you be pulled over
That could
just
be like
for
a
that?
that could be a reasonableness standard or a negligence standard. Like I think that to me takes it out of the like going 5 over, going 3 over, going 8 over. That's where you're
But you
like
can
we
be
get-
stopped just for that, not without
You
hitting
can't be
anybody
stopped
or
just for
anything.
that. It has to be paired with something else. Let's say you're swerving
Yeah, see,
all
I
over the
disagree
place.
with that.
That's
I think
fine. You
going
can't-
120 in a 25.
No. The 120. I think that is already paired with something else. That itself, I think there is a gross negligence there with it. Just like if you can carry a gun around, but you can't like swing it around, right? Like that, I think that enters the 120 miles per hour. I'm saying you can't be pulled over in and of itself for something like, and I don't think it's a specific number. I think it's going to be something probably in the tens, but it's going to be like we're going to have to figure out where the law is there. But if you can't be pulled over for going 5 over in and of itself, but 5 over and plus, you're swerving all over the place, you're not using your turn signal. It has to be paired with something else that actually endangers. But I think going 5 over itself is not in and of itself dangerous to the point where you get to have a citation.
Okay.
So yeah, no speed traps.
Shay wants to know about seatbelt laws. I'll say this. I oppose any law that is only designed to protect you. Like speed, unlike crazy driver Alice, speeding laws are intended to protect other people as well because you don't want to run over people, whatever. But like laws that are just designed to protect you, I don't love those. So seatbelt laws are one of those, right? Like,
this is my point about you have to make your own risk assessment. I don't seatbelts. Car seats.
I see where you're going with that. Seatbelt laws, but not speeding.
No. I am like, I'm not ready to like make an assessment where I'm like, no seatbelt laws. But I agree with you. It's kind of the same idea where if this is just for revenue raising, I'm not cool with that because there are criminal sanctions that can come along with it. And like, those are two different things and you're abusing your power to be able to raise revenue, like tax me more or whatever. Or like, look at my brake pads. If I clearly have a lead foot when you like do your car assessment, maybe you tax me more. I'm okay with that even.
What do you think about DUI laws?
Again, look, I'm not saying you get rid of all of these things that are meant to like protect or you hurt someone else. It is the actual ability to cite someone. Like you can't, I'm trying to think of a corollary where it's not enough just because you tell me a random number. Like going 26 in and of itself in a 25 zone, it's only breaking the law because you decided, but it actually doesn't help anything except it helps you raise revenue. But if I went 26 and like hit a child, yeah, absolutely. Doesn't really matter if I went 24 or 26 if I hit a child, right?
We have a great example of moving the goalpost going on in the chat. I'm talking about seatbelt laws and they're all of a sudden talking about children. What does that have to do with me? Like, if I don't think there should be a seatbelt law that requires me to wear a seatbelt, what does that have to do with children? You can still have a law requiring children to wear seatbelts or car seats or anything else. Like,
True.
That doesn't follow. But I also think, like, motorcycle helmets, man, you want to ride a motorcycle without a motorcycle helmet? I don't care. I wouldn't ride a motorcycle, period, with or without a helmet. But, so, oh, Alice is frozen. She looks so cute in her frozen position. Are you still there?
Am I back? Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. I just say, I think my whole thing about escaping from prison seems a lot less crazy now that Alice is like basically an anarchist on the roads. You know, big speeding ticket. Let's see, I feel like while she's gone, if she ever comes, she's coming back. She's coming back.
Now
there she is.
There's something weird happened with my internet.
What's going on?
I don't know. What I was saying is have I told you guys this? My street is like on a different electrical panel. So like when the power goes out, it's like 11 houses on this street and no one else. So I don't know what's going on. So I don't know if that's what happened, but my internet went out. Anyways, I'm not bitter about a ticket. I haven't gotten a ticket. I just think things like that are abused, and it's also another point of law is you have to know what to expect. And there's so widely varied enforcement that
there's like a vagueness issue.
I think there's a vagueness issue because like, doesn't everyone agree that like generally going 1 or 2 over is fine? Like,
I mean, usually the police don't actually stop you for going 1 or 2 over. Right?
Sometimes they do. Well, guys, thanks for these questions. As always, if you leave a 5-star review, you can ask any questions that will probably land us with a lot of 1-star reviews, but we'll answer them.
Weird religious questions.
Weird religious questions. Weird political questions. We're here for it, but we hope you enjoyed this episode. Look, the arguments are there on YouTube for you to watch yourself. As we always tell you, go listen to them yourself. We welcome your thoughts, your questions. Do you think there's going to be a new trial? We don't, but we've been wrong more than once. Brett, not today, though. I think we're right today.
I hope so.
I'll
say this. I won't be like, oh my goodness, really? If there is a new trial. But I don't think there will be. So
yeah,
I'm hedging my bets.
I think I would. But we will, if there is, we will cover it probably because we'll do it again because I really did enjoy that last time. But for the sake of the victims, the families, and really the entire community, I hope it doesn't happen. And I do think the evidence was just impermeable. He's guilty for murdering his wife and his son. And doesn't matter how you say his name, Murdaugh, he's guilty. But until next time, I'm Alice.
And I'm Brett.
And this is the Prosecutor's Legal Briefs. my internet got so mad about it.
You were just like
that
frozen. Anyways,
sorry, I'm back.
We got more. I mean, I don't know if you want to keep doing it.
So that's my controversial take.
That is a controversial take.
Can you hear me? I don't know what's happening. It keeps going in and out.
You keep kind of fading in and out. I don't really know why.
My section of
what's wrong with your internet all of a sudden?
I can't tell if you can hear me. I don't know. I'm gonna leave and come right back. Hold on one second. Don't stop recording. I'll be right back. I don't know what's happening.
You know, you'd think in her fancy new house and her fancy new home, she must worry about it.
TV has thousands of free movies and TV shows.
You swear?
If I'm lying, I'm dying.
This is the mindset. Free. This is the mantra. Free. This is the mindset.
With movies like Interstellar, Dreamgirls, and Gladiator.
Are you not entertained?
And TV shows like Survivor, SpongeBob SquarePants, The Fairly Odd Parents, and Ghosts. Pluto TV is always free. Huzzah! Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.